Please share the links. Alright, good evening everyone and welcome to CG Market Watch Live. Today is a Monday, the 29th of October. It's gonna be Halloween very soon. So, or is it? Hey, is Halloween ended already or not yet, right? Alright, what's up, Marco? I'm not sure why there's people commenting in the stream, but then there's no one watching. Okay, probably it's a little bit laggy. So let's allow people to start streaming in. Don't forget to say hi, folks. I think it's a little bit gloomy here in Singapore, and like to just get a chance to chat with you guys before we go into the overall market analysis, and of course to cover the various types of news that is out there in the cryptocurrency space. Let me have a sip of coffee first. Yes, so how was your weekend? And obviously, I think the thing is, how is everyone doing? How are you gonna spend your Halloween? Is it the usual trick or treating for you? Well, we don't really celebrate it here. It's more like a fad thing, you know. Since the whole world does it, so do we. But as in Singapore, we don't go trick or treating. We don't dress up and get our kids to dress up and go and find and get candy and all. We just buy it from the store, you know. Yeah. So, all right. Hello, in ES James. Yeah. Okay. Please explain PundiX or Quantum. I think before we go into that, let's go into the overall markets first, and then at the end of towards the end of the show, then maybe we can cover a little bit of questions. All right, folks. So let's get started. Okay, so I would like to kind of cover the overall market cap at the moment. Let me shift myself to the right side. Okay, so markets have been very lackluster, guys. Honestly, flat. I'm not sure how come on CoinMarketCap the past 7 days there's actually any movement. In fact, what I actually saw was for the past 7 days it's just flat. Okay, so CoinMarketCap obviously has a problem with pulling up API, because in actual fact this is the 1 day candle. This is kind of like how it's supposed to be. Okay, and this is let me zoom in for you to give you a bit of clarity. This is Gemini, all right, and you're having, ever since the 16th of October, this is the fucking volume. Okay, so let me just be a little bit more optimistic. We have moved maybe $20 the whole fucking 10 days, guys. All right, today is the 29th, 16th of October, it's flat. Never mind. Let us go to another exchange. Let's say Bitstamp. Okay, so let's go for Bitstamp. BTC USD. Oh, okay. So Bitstamp BTC USD looks a little bit more buoyant. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so ever since the 16th of October, well, you kind of got a little bit of pump here and there. So you have anywhere from 6,000. Wow. Okay, look. $50, guys. The movement is $50. So I think folks who have been using leveraging, how has it been? I mean, I wouldn't know, because I think I wouldn't want to bother to even use leverage, because probably you're going to be on 100x, and then the next thing you know, some kind of movement happens and your whole account gets taken out. So I think I'll leave it to the pros. Okay, that being said, let's cover the top 10 cryptocurrencies at the moment. So Bitcoin at 112 billion. You have Ethereum magically still at 21. You have XRP at 18.4 billion. And Bitcoin Cash at 7.6. EOS at 4.8. You have Stellar, which has risen up the ranks to 4.3 billion. Really amazing on that part. Litecoin at 3 billion. Tether at 1.9. Number 8. Cardano, despite the fact that we have Charles, who I think at the moment intends to not be associated with the Cardano Foundation anymore. 1.87. You have Monero at 1.714. And yeah, and then you have the rest. So guys, pretty much most cryptocurrencies, right, except I think for Lumens. I think Lumens has had some movement of late. Let's see if okay. So in the earlier part, that means at the beginning when Bitcoin kind of became flat, you had Lumens relatively going up pretty much significantly. What on earth happened to the axis, man? Okay, so apparently the axis is a little bit messed up. Wait, let me see what happened to my... give me a second, guys. Scale properties. Wait, what happened to the... Okay. What the fuck happened to the thing? Okay, never mind. I think, okay, so let's just use this. I'm not sure what happened to the scale. Okay, so apparently, right, Stellar Lumens has kind of had a little bit of movement in the past. It's kind of already consolidating and tapering off already. Most of the coins, from a fundamental standpoint, right, I feel that took a huge correction because the overall stock markets took a hit as well. So I think Andy also covered that. The stock market sell-off, to me, was not due to the fact that earnings were short. Well, there were certain companies that fell short on their earnings, but there were some that actually did very well. But still, the whole overall Nasdaq corrected 600 points and erasing 2018. So there are two things that come to mind. One is that there's huge profit taking in the market because I think most hedge funds or investment firms, mutual funds are holding cash. They're really concerned about the overall bond markets, and for the fact that technology sector has had tremendous growth, okay, like tremendous growth, they probably decided that, hey, maybe it's time to take some money off the table. And for the fact that you erased 2018 gains, it just goes to show that the market is now prepping for the potential pullback. Because I guess also for the fact that it's Q4 and a lot of unwinding is happening because November and December is going to be relatively quiet for the overall stock markets. I don't see anything exciting happening because you're going to have earnings season happen only next year. Okay, and I think usually retailers will do very well, as in consumer retailers, right? Anything that is in electronics, gifts, so your Amazons, Alibaba will all do pretty well. Yes, I understand that Alibaba kind of took a hit because of the US trade tariffs, but all in all, I don't see them stopping in terms of growth. Recently, they just announced that they are able to provide cloud services, so that's going to be competing with AWS, Amazon Web Services as well. So yeah, I only see continued growth. PE ratios look very, very healthy for Alibaba, 44 PE ratio as opposed to Amazon, which has a 93 PE ratio, right? So what does the PE ratio mean? It just means that if you're holding the stock, you have to wait practically for almost double the time. So based on what I understand, right, is 44 means that 44x. You're paying 44x on top of the price in based on the earnings. So same thing for Amazon, you're paying 99 times or 93 times on top on the current stock price. So let's say whatever you're paying based on the earnings, you're paying a 93% multiplier. That's what it means. So 93 times multiplier. So you're gonna have to wait for the earnings to kind of catch up. But Amazon has just shown such tremendous growth that in terms of the overall growth, it's going to take some time. So everybody still looks at the cryptocurrency markets. Everyone's still more bullish on crypto. And there was a question that was posted to me based on what I felt was going to happen in the event that we did have a full-blown global financial crisis, or the stock markets just suddenly selling down drastically, as if it will suffer its own kind of a pullback, like how we suffered our Bitcoin falling from 20,000 to 6,000. Okay, so here's my thinking. You need to first see what was the rationale for the pullback. So if the pullback was due to the bond markets, then obviously it will have a ripple effect, but the stock markets will then start to recover very quickly, because at the end of the day, the companies that are still strong will be the ones that are not having enough, they are not on debt, or very too much debt. If the bond markets are taking a hit, let's say it's in the corporate bond sector or whatever, wherever wherever the market just takes a hit, right? Corporates that have a lot of cash and at the same time they are not having a lot of debt, they will not take so much of hit. In fact, it will be the best time to buy. So at this point of time, you need to start looking at all these things. So if they have very low debt and high cash, or if their cash quarter on quarter actually starts increasing, right? It just goes to show that they are prepping for they're obviously prepping for the winter. Okay, that means they are anticipating that there should be some kind of correction in the markets, and they have to prepare for that in their particular industry or sector, or maybe they just feel that there's going to be some kind of pullback. So they're holding cash. So you have to look at especially in your portfolio, if you own stocks, right? You have to start looking at the cash on hand. Okay, so if they are holding more, it just goes to show that they are prepping for something. They are obviously worried about the quarters going forward, and maybe even the years going forward. It really depends, because these are the market leaders, right? If they are expanding and continuously being aggressive, then they assume that they are going to be okay. But if you look at for the fact that if everyone's just saying global financial crisis, this is it, the stock markets are not going to recover, blah, 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 CNBC talking all that, then what will that entail for the cryptocurrency market? Okay, so Bitcoin is yet to be tested. At the moment, we don't even know how Bitcoin will react if we have a full-blown sell down. If you notice, Bitcoin really didn't take much of a hit when the Nasdaq sold down. Yes, it was at I think 6,006, and then it fell $200, and that was pretty much it. Okay, so this goes to show that there's still a supported price for Bitcoin. Now, the second sentiment, or the second kind of thoughts that I have, is that if the people who lose money in the stock markets, right, they must feel inclined to say, okay, I've called it quits. I am gonna be putting some cash aside. Where's the next best thing that has the best ROI? Where's the potential space that is still yet to be developing, and it has enough traction for me to put my money in? So that will be the next consideration, because why would I want to put my money into something else if I'm going to still be getting a good ROI or safe haven for investments in the existing stock market? So it has to be based on that factor. Okay, then the next thing is, when the whole stock market crashes, or if it does, maybe it's, to say it's a stock market crash is just it's not far-fetched, but how much of a correction are we gonna get? If it's just gonna be a small, like a bloop, like a dip, and then after it recovers very quickly, then it's just a very normal take profit, a little bit of FUD that will be entered into the market so that everybody can manipulate it a little bit. But if it recovers relatively quickly, then there's nothing much to say, and you won't really have a true test of whether Bitcoin is considered that digital gold or safe haven. Okay, so that's that part. Now, the third thing is, will people feel that the current projects or the current offerings in this space are going to provide me that safe haven or divergence from the stock market? Because I don't want to jump into another hot boiling cauldron, right? Because don't forget that a large part of the cryptocurrency projects are actually all tech. So how is it that if the tech space is correcting heavily, how can the crypto space be benefiting? Whether you say it's decentralized or whatever, it's really beside the point. It's still in the tech industry, guys. Okay, so you have to understand that if it's untouched, there's a reason, because maybe they're still underdeveloped. So, and for the fact that maybe our market cap is so small, and for the fact that maybe the people, especially investors, majority, they don't even invest in stocks. So whatever I said just now, you may not even understand because you're not invested in the stock market. So you'll be like, oh, okay, whatever happens there, it doesn't affect me, which is true, right? Because if you're a millennial, right, and you never even really had your parents never even bought stocks before, you would kind of not even buy stocks yourself, but you kind of heard about crypto through your friends, right? And you started trading cryptocurrencies. That's all you know. So a majority of your portfolio and your money will be in crypto. So if the market sells down, it doesn't mean that there will be a strong repercussion here. It just depends on who's holding the tokens, and at the same time, does it provide any value to sell at this point? So if there's no value to sell to kind of cover whatever losses that people are sustaining in the stock markets, then nothing will happen. To me, I think the property markets are going to have a strong correction, because most wealthy individuals will also punt in the stock market, but they hold property as a hedge, right? As a part of their portfolio. So in times of shit, right? Especially if it's the bond markets that collapse, right? Then we have to ask ourselves, was it from the banks, right? Because banks are usually culprits where they over leverage on the existing interest rate instruments, okay? And there could be a potential of that actually unwinding or defaulting. So when that happens, when companies default, that also causes a very, very huge repercussion. It's like a fucking domino effect, and it will just explode in itself. And you start seeing all this happening, and a lot of dumping happening from all the private equity firms, or basically the private banks themselves. So this is what could potentially happen. And when it happens, right, we'll always be the last to know, just so you know. Unless you already are having friends who are bond traders, as of now, I know that bond traders, a few bond traders actually have left trading bonds and actually moved out of the space. So maybe that's an indicator, okay? And they don't want to be part of that when the whole thing implodes. So they kind of left, and they are actually here in the space right now. So maybe that's an indicator. I don't know. I'm not a bond trader. So that being said, this is kind of like how are we going to position our money? Where should we position our money? I think it boils down to being practical. So I don't want to say that Bitcoin is the one all be all investment. I would still say diversify your eggs across various baskets. So right now, if you want to really still be part of the space, Bitcoin is still the way to go. Okay, despite the fact that in terms of a business and whatnot, yes, it could potentially be a smart contract platform as well, and you can build things on it, but it doesn't serve that purpose. At the moment, it's known as the way to transact money in a decentralized manner, and at the same time also it allows you to transfer that money borderlessly, and there's no permission that you need to do. You do not need to seek permission from a third party in order to do that. So until now, it still serves that purpose. The only question is, what are the transaction fees at the moment? And hopefully it doesn't go to a crazy astronomical price that it doesn't make sense for people who are transferring very little to use the network. And that is in a way discouraging. But that being said, if it becomes a store of value, okay, that means people are more inclined to keep it for whatever reason, because it kind of beats inflation. It is negatively correlated from the stock market. It's negatively correlated from, it shouldn't be negatively correlated from gold or even oil, because if this is going to be digital gold, okay, I would say it will have to have a negative correlation. That means it moves opposite. That means when stock markets crash, it goes up. When the stock market goes up, it comes down. But right now, it seems to be functioning on a world of its own, because it forms its own value through the community. And right now, there's less than like 2-3% of the population of the world using or even has knowledge about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So we are still such a long way to go. So That being said, I would still say, you could buy physical gold, physical silver. I think this has been in quite a number of talks in most investing channels. And at the moment, I've been receiving circulars about keeping gold and talks about gold and gold prices, slightly going up because of the current uncertainty, which is great, right? So you're seeing that kind of movement. But I noticed when the stock price, when the whole Nasdaq came down, the Bitcoin price actually came down as well. So it wasn't very encouraging, but I noticed that it didn't really fall past 6,000, the 6,000 level is still at 6,004. So whatever the whole market is waiting for, I would assume obviously is the ETF announcement, which I don't really care too much about, because if it wants to launch, it launches. Okay, the good thing, I've mentioned this before, is that even if the ETF launches, what kind of offering? So let's say if ETFs do get approved, it's just another instrument for the high net worth space. That's it. But BUCK, I'm a little bit more interested, because BUCK settlements will be in physical, well, not physical, as in there will be an actual settlement of Bitcoin at the end of the day, which is good, right? So that means the exchanges must make sure that, or at least the people who are at least longing the futures contracts must always, they will have to accept delivery of Bitcoin. So that's a good thing. Unlike currently, it's just all fiat. So the positions are all closed, open in US dollars, closed in US dollars. That's it. It's just a reflection of the price. So if BUCK is going to implement a futures contract that has physical delivery of Bitcoin, then it's a good thing. But other than that, don't be too excited. I think there are many other things that could potentially move the market. I would say that regulations being put in place in various countries, and ultimately the wider scope and spectrum, you have to have the big boys like China opening up their markets once again in order for the money flow. Because when China shut everything down, you notice that everything died. There's not much movement. US and Europe, honestly, is not the driver. I'll be very honest with you. It's still China. Korea and Japan are keeping the money within their own countries, because if you notice, there is still volume within their own exchanges, but everyone is kind of like forming their own base already. So you're noticing that everyone has kind of kept the money within the country. Okay, they are all establishing themselves as the market leader for the exchange. I mean, as an exchange, I'm keeping the money within the country, and I want to work with the regulators. Of course, I'm part of the country. Most of the directors are either Korean, Japanese, or China citizens. They all are trying to form their own. I would say that there are international exchanges, like for example Binance and so on, and Binance is leading the way in terms of being very aggressive outside. But for them to kind of step back into China will be challenging. But then again, hey, Binance can say, well, it doesn't matter. Although I'm not in China, I'm always working outside of China, right? I'm expanding outside of China. As you know, they have a global office, head office or headquarters in Singapore as well, and they already have the Malta license. So yeah, they are free to do business everywhere around the world. Right now I would say that the market is relatively boring, guys. I'm not sure how come so many crypto YouTubers are so excited about what, because it doesn't even make sense. I'm not excited about anything. I'm just working on other projects. I think now the most important thing is establishing the networks and connections for the next leg. But honestly, in terms of news, what is there? I mean, please feel free to share with me what is exciting. So okay guys, so I prefer to probably take questions, because I think I want to help you guys. So have questions and then I will address them one by one. No, the ETF, like the ETF said, right? The ETF is still very far away. I really don't see anything happening. Okay, Subversive Go says, I don't care, I already made bank. Good for you, bro. Good for you. That's the way. Okay, please, Quantum Coin or Pundex price prediction. Look, man. Quantum is a coin that Quantum and Pundex are both credible projects. Okay, now let me emphasize this once again. Probably a very new Marco. A credible project will never spend money on market making. Go and look up the term. Market making just means that they engage third parties to move their coins. It costs money to do that. For me to help you to have volume on my coin means that I need to spend my hard-earned or my raised money, not hard-earned, but raised money, instead of spending that money on development and building up the business, right? I have to go and spend money on doing this kind of stuff, which I don't want to, because I know what you mean. Like whenever there's a piece of news that is announced, these days, you know what's very smart? The projects don't actually engage in all this. Lumens had a pump is because the signal groups wanted to pump it. Lumens will never engage because Lumens are already established. They're already so long already in the market. Just look at how Lumens has been around, for how long Lumens has been around. Okay, Lumens has been around on other exchanges. Let me see. Where's the longest exchange? Yes, Bitmex. Okay, so let's click on that. Okay, Lumens has been around for, guys, they've been around since like what? Okay, they were on Bitmex 18th of November 2015. I came into the market February of 2016. They've been around a long time, guys. So they're not gonna fucking spend money. But you look at the charts, right? If you look at the charts, they are looking very, they look very, very good. I mean, they look very, very healthy. Yes, they did take a dip from the all-time high. Every cryptocurrency did. But they are still moving. They're still progressing. And from a chart perspective, it looks actually very good. But look at it from a development standpoint. So same thing, if you look at Pundex and you look at Quantum, look at what they're doing. Right now, Quantum is creating lots of, they just recently had signed a partnership, right? A legit partnership, by the way. Haha, no pun intended, with Amazon. So that being said, they are now also working with, then you have Pundex who just launched their X blockchain phone. You see? So all these developments, right? You need to look long term. You cannot look at the short term anymore because that kind of short term pump no longer will exist because bots are in play. You have the fact that the market is now more savvy. They know how to trade. So whatever percentage gains that the market can take off, right? They'll take off. They are no longer, there's no such thing as the hodlers anymore. There are very few. I would still say I'm still a hodler, right? I still believe in investing in the space, but that's why I'm very selective. I don't talk about coins all the time, right? That's why if you ask me about Quantum and Pundex, I'm fine to talk to you about them because I'm still invested in them. Reduction of allocation, I've already mentioned before. I have reduced my allocation in Quantum because they're still very long. Look, you need developers, guys. Okay, you need developers to build on the platform. If you are a smart contract platform and you don't have enough developers building on it, then there's no traction because no one is acquiring your tokens. And most of the time, if you are a new smart contract platform and you're coming on board, I usually give you tokens to develop. You as a developer, you don't have to buy any tokens. You tend to just, okay, either you raise money via an ICO and you automatically have tokens, right? From then you can start developing or using the BTC that you raise to kind of own the token so that you can build on my platform. Okay. The other way is I am incubating you. I will give you tokens to develop what you need to develop. That's the only way. So where is the money? Where is the real money eventually going to come in from? Obviously, when there's the product or the dApp that is developed, and then from then either you are able to market it and sell it successfully to enterprise or to consumers. It's quite straightforward, but I don't see much of that happening yet. So you have to be very, very patient. Okay. Now, the ETF will not affect the price. Okay, wow, CryptoMine got into the Quantum ICO. Yeah, that was a long time ago, man. Okay, so So now there is a part about DEFCON. Well, remember, okay, let's just recall. Okay, I think there are enough folks on the chat right now. Remember once when every bloody big conference would move the whole market, and we were anticipating some kind of movement like during Consensus. You still remember Consensus New York? But we fucking got a big fat nothing. You still remember that this year? Remember when it was in Consensus New York? Wow, the whole rah-rah. It didn't move the market. So it just goes to show, right, that the whales are no longer in this game anymore. They really pulled out the money a long time ago. So right now, you have to be very careful. When I say this sentence, you have to listen clearly. If you're not in the right coins, you could potentially not make any money. So please go and rework your portfolio. I'm being very, very honest. I'm being very sincere. Not even being sarcastic. I'm not even joking. But go and rework your portfolio. If you have fucking zero idea about what you invested in, I strongly suggest you might want to really bite the bullet, go back to Bitcoin, and rethink what you should put your money in. You have to accept the loss, because if your team that you are betting on, okay, let's just say we all have our favorite, and your team that you're betting on is nowhere near smelling the Premier League, right? Especially if you watch soccer and the Premier League is the top league. Every fucking team from Division 1 to Division 3, 4, or whatever they call it at the moment wants to go into that top league, and it's not it. You're not going to make money, right? Unless your team is a dark horse that comes out from nowhere much later. But when the main money comes in, it's always only going to go to the strongest projects. Look, man, it's very simple. You bet on the ones that have the track record. Simple as that. Anything that you do, you bet on anything. A boxer, a soccer team. You don't want to lose money, right? Yes, you might want to love the odds when you bet on the fucking dark horse, right? Because the odds are the best if the dark horse wins. But in most circumstances, based on a track record, you always bet on the best. You always bet on the best because you know that at the end of the day, I won't win a lot, but I'll definitely make money. And it really depends on what's your risk appetite. Okay, yeah, so I'm full in BTC and somewhat Monero and a bit of BNB. I'm lazy. That's awesome, man. Right? You're keeping your portfolio tight, subversive ghost. You're keeping your portfolio tight, and that's the way it should be. Keep your portfolio tight. There's no shame. No shame. If your friend, right, tells you that I fucking invested in this coin that went up 100%. I know what went up recently, which is Red Pulse. Okay? I think Red Pulse is a project on Neo. If I remember correctly, maybe it's a Neo project. I can't really remember. That was a project a long time ago, and it achieved a huge amount of volume. I think it was PHX. You see, guys, I still know what's up. You know, I know what's up, guys. But we all know that once we see a J, okay, we see a J curve or a hockey stick, we know that's probably the end already. So I'll observe what Red Pulse does and how viable it is. If you want me to talk about it, I can. Especially, I know that the only reason why I'm addressing it is because people bought at the all-time high. And if you're one of those people, yeah, feel free to comment below. Would you like to have an episode about what Red Pulse is all about? Yes, I've heard of it before. This was something that was quite a while back, but I think it only recently got listed on Binance. And there's Ravencoin that did very, very well as well. I think Ravencoin went on to Bitmex, RVN. Oh, it's on Binance as well. Wow. Okay. So Ravencoin was basically in Q2. Apparently, it's gonna be a better Bitcoin, from what I understand. And it's more focused on asset tagging. Okay, so to me, whatever they are proposing, I think at the end of the day, same thing. They were willing to pay for market making, and yeah, usually the exchanges will give them that initial boost to give them a lot of traction and to create that volume. Okay, just don't be the one to be back holding, because at the end of the day, everyone who misses out and comes in too late will back hold. Okay, it's just a given. Okay, yeah. So, okay, so there are thoughts about the markets where do we still want to invest and put our money into smart contract platforms? Do we invest in the next polymath? Not polymath, in the next STO exchange or whatever? Look, man, all these things are not defined. Although I've been doing a number of episodes about STO, but let's have the definition first. I know that, look, the definition is not even going to come out anytime soon, but let's just assume that STOs are already here, are here to stay. Please bear in mind that you must be having equity. No more bullshit. If they claim that they are an STO, what is the shares that you're going to receive? And it has to have a proper structure of how that share price is going to be derived, and you are going to have a right to convert your tokens to equity. Or STO can be the exact representation of the equity in the company. Enough of bullshit. That is how it's supposed to be. And if you're going to be an STO, make sure you have some revenue to back it up. Or if you have no revenue, then make sure you have enough growth to back it up. Right? Simple as that. Stop blowing smoke up everybody's ass, because at the end of the day, when people figure this shit out, you're gonna have a bad rap in the space. Now, obviously, it's not gonna stop and hinder any schemer, scammer, or fraudster, right? Because at the end of the day, it's how convincing I want to put my act and see how many stupid people come on board. But I know my grinders are not dumb. I know you guys are one of the smartest bunch. You know your stuff. Just assess the market accordingly, and just be careful when you're investing. Remember, rework your portfolio, and last but not least, enjoy your holiday, guys. It's coming to the month of November, December. Just chill. You guys have been accumulating what you need to accumulate, I'm sure, from the beginning of the year until now. I hope that you never stopped finding information about a space and becoming more and more mature as an investor or a trader. Don't stop hungering for information in the space. And that being said, thank you so much for watching CG Market Watch. I'll see you in the next episode.